Okay, we're here today to do a recap of the officer-involved shooting that occurred yesterday at 3:30. Like I said yesterday, the narcotics unit was investigating a citizen's drug complaint for about a month and a half at 3500 University Boulevard North, the Casa del Rio Apartments, apartment number 906. It was Sergeant Val Demps and his narcotics squad. They met earlier in the afternoon to start planning the operation. They met over at the narcotics office. They do this each and every time they do an operation. They go through the assignments. He had his entire squad with him, which is 6 detectives. They went through what their details are, what their assignments are, possibilities that may occur when they get there. They then head over to the apartment complex. They meet again prior to that. How they're going to enter, there's an undercover officer involved, what they're going to do. So then they head into the apartment complex. The undercover officer goes to the door, strikes up a conversation with Nate, which is Nathaniel Hill, makes the arrangements for a drug transaction. Nathaniel Hill goes back in the apartment, shutting the door. The undercover officer stays at the door. At that time, Sergeant Demps and the takedown team stacks at the front door near the doorway. As Nathaniel Hill comes back to the door, he opens it up. The takedown team grabs Mr. Hill. And as they do, a struggle ensues. They fall inside to the apartment. He's taken to the floor. As he's taken to the floor, the black male that we did not identify yesterday was his son, Nathaniel Hill Jr., who is 17 years old. He approaches, the officers take him to the ground. So you've got Mr. Hill and his son, several of the takedown officers there in a pile right at the doorway just inside the apartment. At that time, Sergeant Demps, with a good presence of mind, he's got a long history in narcotics. He's a very oriented supervisor there, and he does an excellent job. He has a presence of mind to step over the pile to give the team cover. As soon as he does, within feet, he encounters a suspect with a gun in his hand, who is now identified as Juan Montrese Lawrence, a black male, age 40. Mr. Lawrence has this Kel-Tec 9mm in his right hand, which is loaded with 7 rounds. In his left hand, he has a magazine for that gun that is also loaded with 7 rounds. So he's got an extra magazine in his hand and this gun in his right hand. Demps gives him several commands to drop the gun. He does not do that. Sergeant Demps fires 4 shots, 2 striking Mr. Lawrence, 1 in the face, 1 in the hip. The gun's recovered near the body. The magazine is still in his left hand when the officers go to secure him. Later on, we searched the apartment. We found a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson handgun in a back bedroom with some paperwork that ID'd that room to belong to Mr. Hill. Nathaniel Hill was charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. They also found approximately 33 grams of cocaine. That includes both powder cocaine and crack cocaine, which is just over an ounce. So an ounce is 28 grams. And with that, we'll take any questions you may have.
John, can you spell the name of the Lawrence?
Lawrence is his last name, Juan, and his middle name is Montrese, and we're going to send y'all electronic packages. So
do you have a DOB on him?
I do, but I don't have it. Well, he's 40 years old. We'll get you the DOB and his criminal history and those kind of things. So all that will be provided to you.
Now, the officer involved yesterday was placed on paid administrative leave as per standard operating procedure. Generally speaking, how long do the investigations take before officers involved in shootings return to duty?
I mean, usually we can get them, depending on the investigation and depending on their getting us a statement and seeing a doctor to make sure that they're fit for duty to come back. I mean, this is very traumatizing for an officer. It's not something that happens every day to take another human being's life. It's certainly something we take serious. It certainly has an effect on the officers that are involved. So All that takes, usually by their next days coming back to work, maybe a week or so, they come back, so.
And this was
hopefully
his third shooting he was involved in, is that correct?
That's correct.
Or were the other two fatal, do you know?
No,
You don't know where?
I know they were not.
They
Not,
were.
not, I was there for both of them. Val Demps has worked for me over the years, and the two times I think that he was involved in the shootings, he both worked for me both times, so neither one of those was fatal.
And is that something that in the investigation, do the investigators look at that this is the third one, or is that really not?
No, each one stands on its own merits, and we'll look at this just as it is. So, I mean, when you're, Val Demps is a veteran narcotics detective and supervisor, and when you're in that job that long, I mean, these things do happen. Like we said last night, this is a dangerous business. I mean, people pull guns on you, people are shot. It hasn't been that long ago that we had narcotics officers involved in a shooting. So again, we talk about this as it's not a violent crime. It is a violent business. I mean, we can debate that as much as you want, but I'm here to tell you that I spent probably 13 years of my career in narcotics, and we were always recovering guns, and it is a violent business.
How is Sergeant Demps doing today?
I haven't talked to him today, but yesterday he was doing well.
So it doesn't raise any red flags that he was involved with 3 of these incidents?
These stand on their own merits. You know, he's been through, we investigate each and every one of them. The state investigates each and every one of them. So, no, I mean, certainly tough on him.
He just operates in the line of fire.
That's right.
Are there other officers who have had 3 or more?
I'm sure there are, but I don't have that information for you.
Is Lawrence from Jacksonville, John?
Originally he was, but I think he has resided in Tampa. So from Jacksonville to Tampa and then back to Jacksonville.
And do we know, is he a convicted felon? Do we know that?
Yes.
He was, of what, do you have any idea?
Possession of cocaine.
I know you're still in the prelim, but as you look at it right now, did it seem that he had any other option but to shoot?
No, I mean, I believe he saved their life. I think if he'd have let Mr. Lawrence get down, you're talking about 5 feet of distance. If he'd have let him get down that hallway, we could have 3 or 4 dead officers at that scene. He's got a magazine in his hand, he's got a gun in one hand. Certainly he's ready to fire on them. And if Sergeant Demps wouldn't have taken the action that he did, I believe he saved their lives. And that's what I'm here to say today.
Was that an extra magazine?
Yes.
Or, so there was already one in the gun?
The gun is loaded with 7 rounds in the gun. He didn't have one in the chamber, but he's got 7 rounds in a magazine in the gun, 7 rounds and an extra magazine in his left hand.
Did Mr. Lawrence ever point the gun at Sergeant Demps?
Yes.
Any other questions?
That gun was registered to Nathaniel?
We haven't traced the guns yet. So we've got a .40 caliber and this gun, the Kel-Tec 9mm. We'll do the traces on both guns, and when we get that back, sometimes it takes a while.
If they're felons, then that's probably, they're not registered to that, almost certainly.
Well, you never know. We'll get you that information down the road.
And that email, are you going to give us Lawrence's background as well?
Shannon, what have you got in the package? Have you got
We don't have a local arrest history on Mr. Lawrence, so we're
the
providing all
one
the
coming out of Tampa? It's out of Tampa. I think he's got some
Drug.
history out of Tampa.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.